Hey girl, welcome to the Feminine Founder Podcast, where we are all about learning and growing professionally so that we can build a life that we are proud of and really love. My name is Caroline, and I'm a LinkedIn expert, obsessed with teaching female entrepreneurs how to start, grow, and scale their personal brand and business on LinkedIn. This podcast is all about sharing our stories and learning from each other on how to navigate our professional journey so that we can live our best lives. So if you are just starting your entrepreneurial journey or you're growing and scaling an epic company, you're in the right place, friend. Today, I have my good friend Cristal Jacobo with me. Crystal is the founder of She Is Made for More, which is a movement empowering women. She hosts live events, retreats. She's also the podcast host of She Is Made for More. So after you get done listening to this episode, head on over to Apple and check out her podcast too. Welcome, Crystal.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So you and I met earlier this year in Case You Get Mary's mastermind, the podcast mastermind, and we became fast friends. And I love the work that you're doing. So tell everybody who's listening in about your story, about where you are now and how did you get there?
So my name is Cristal Jacobo. I am in California. I used to be a school teacher for about 6 years. And then I've always been the child that there's like a little gut feeling of like, what if there's more? I don't know how to describe it besides that's just my feeling. And I've always like thought, well, maybe I become a principal. That's my more. Or well, what if I work for like to become an admin in college? That's more. Like I've always craved a little bit more. And when I got into teaching, I realized there was other things that I was craving and I didn't know what it was. Like full transparency, I didn't know coaching was a thing. I didn't know business online was a thing. I didn't know any of this. I was just like, what if there's something more out there? And I'm young enough to where I leave, I can come back. That was my mentality, or so I thought. So I did. I left and I dabbled into events. I dabbled into so many things. But really, I left because I was feeling like my life was on autopilot. I felt like I would wake up at the same time. I would go work out at the same time. I would come home at the same time. I would wake up and the next day was the same day over and over and over. And I think for me, it was just exhausting and I didn't know how to accept that reality. So fast forward, like I just took a venture and here we are now. Fast forward a few years in, we've built a company that has 6 figures. It has 4 avenues with 6 figures in it. It has now events, it has retreats, it has a mastermind, it has events, and all that is great. But I think what I love the most is the flexibility, the schedule that I have. I'm a new mom. I have a mom. I have a son who's about to turn 10 months old. The freedom to not get to miss the little things. His first crawl, the first time I gave him a solid, the first little things. I'm here for everything. And I think through everything, I'm realizing the more that calls you is leading the way. Like if you have the little itch that there's more, it's leading the way. I think when we can surrender and accept and follow, it's going to take you to the greater vision, the greater destination, like something that you don't even know exists for you just yet. It's leading the way. So I've realized that, yes, our company now is called She's Made for More because I do believe that everyone, we're made for more.
So I want to circle back real quick on something that you said. So you work Tuesdays and Thursdays and you have a 6-figure business.
Yes. I work Tuesdays and I work Thursdays and I take Monday, Wednesday, and Friday off. And of course, weekends.
That is literally huge. And so, okay, you're leaving teaching and you're getting into the business online and doing events and all that. I mean, walk me back from the very beginning. Like, how did you even know? Were you watching people online or did you have a mentor? Like, how did you even know that you could make money online?
So I attended an event. I can't rave enough about attending events. I ended up an event, which I got dragged to, by the way. I didn't want to go. I was promised that I was going to go to Disneyland, but we had to stop at this one event first. It was like a self-development event. And I remember the guy that spoke. I'll never forget. I'm a big family person. I grew up with family. Like I love family, but I've always thought that entrepreneurship meant like putting your family to the side and going on this hustle and grind. And that's what I was told, or that's what I had learned. And I go to this event and I see this guy come on stage And the first thing he does, Caroline, is he has a picture of his wife and his 2 little girls. And he says, before I come on the stage, I want to thank my wife and I want to thank my daughters because I wouldn't be who I am without them. And then I want to thank God for allowing me to live this path because it's given me the life where we get to travel. And he said, tomorrow we go to Hawaii, but I just had to come and do this talk for my good friend. Tomorrow we take off to Hawaii. And something happened in that moment where I was like, wait a minute. You're not starting by flashing Ferraris and cars and this and that. You're starting by thanking God and your family. And I got hooked in the speech. And then his talk went on, which completely changed my life. It went on to talk about starting over and using your purpose as God's direction and knowing that when you want more, it's because there's more that you're meant to do to give more. So this guy has an orphanage in Mexico and he helps women who have been sex trafficked and puts them in a center where he helps them gain the skills back to incorporate into the world. And if they have children, he puts them in an orphanage so that they can heal peacefully. So he really honed in on make money to give money because every single one of us that wants more, there's a bigger cause why you want it. You don't just want it to have a penthouse and an apartment in New York, which if you do, great for you. But for a majority of the people, we want to serve and we want to give. So what better way to do it than unapologetically step into your more, make money and give to the cause that you want to give. So I heard him talk, and ever since then, he hooked me. I ended up going to one of his events that he hosted. So one event led to another event. At that event, he was like, I'm taking on a certain amount of entrepreneurs who want to come on. Caroline, I was still teaching. The investment was $25,000 at that time. I'm on a teaching salary. Where am I going to pull $25,000? But something in my heart said, fill out that freaking card and take it to the back and let God take it away. And I did. My hand was shaking when I turned it in. And I was like, you know what? Worst case scenario, I'll talk to them. It won't be for me, but at least I'll like scratch this itch of what if they tell me something. Sure enough, I had a meeting with one of the individuals there, entire time crying. And they said, why do you care about money? I was like, I don't know, but I know I want more and I don't even know what that is. And I was crying and crying and I ended up applying to their program. I fast forward, ended up quitting teaching, pulled out my retirement account and paid for the investment. And I got introduced to coaching. I got introduced to events. I got introduced to this world. And my initial thought was like, the world needs to know more about this. How can I create this and bring this back to my community, the people that I'm going to cross paths with? And that kind of started the journey for me. It was going to an event, meeting a person that their words changed my life. They had a program that I invested in and they kind of took me under their wing and it just took off from there.
I love that you said that because I'm a huge believer in being in the room too. And yes, it does take a financial investment. Yes, it does take a time investment, but it has literally been worth it every single time that I've done it too. And it might look a little different. You might have to pull out of savings. You might have to do something 401k. Wherever you go to get the money, it's going to be worth it and you're going to get it back in tenfold. And I want to add to that too. I mean, a lot of it in the coaching world, I believe, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I think I know what your answer is. There is enough for everybody out there. So whatever your more is, whatever you're passionate about, whatever field that you want to be the expert or go out and put yourself out there as an entrepreneur in, there is enough out there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that's something that I learned early on from this specific human. He had said once, he's like, the reason why I'm passionate to help everybody make money is because you might care about elephants, go help elephants. You might care about foster and youth, go help foster and youth. He's like, but what I know is that there's enough money in this world and there's enough hearts in this world to serve other hearts. And he said, so when we just become ambitious and link up together, we can do epic things. And I learned that early on and I've carried that into our business, which is why our business isn't called Made for More. It's called She is Made for More, because the whole theme of our business is I see you, you see her, she sees her, and we're a domino effect. It's not just I'm made for more and I'm going to take over the world. It's together we're linking arms. We're heavy on creating, co-creating. We're heavy on collaboration and never competition. Because again, I believe that the people that are not meant to work for me might work for you. And the people that might not work for you are going to work with the next person. But if we can all put each other on stages, we can all put each other on platforms, the amount of change in this world that we can do is going to triple because we're not tackling the world alone. So I'm heavy on that.
I want to dig into She's Made for More. We were just talking before we started this podcast and press record about the way that we are raised as little girls.
Yeah.
And even though you and I were raised completely across the country from each other,
Yeah.
we heard similar messages. And I'd love to hear more about kind of that in general, and then how you were able to become, okay, you did the traditional route, you were a teacher, you checked the boxes, went to college, all the things, but then you found yourself miserable in that role. And then you pivoted to coaching, which is completely different, a new niche, a new everything. So you had to learn all new skills, all new everything. And then I'm assuming that you have it. I have it every single day, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And self-doubt. So tell me about that journey.
Yeah. So I always say this, but I admire women who just boldly walk into the room and just ask for the things that they want. And I realized, why do I admire them so much? Why do I feel so small? Because reality of it, it's a new world for me. I went from teaching to now putting myself on the internet, creating content. Like, it's a whole different world. And one day I was like, okay, I realize that my business can only thrive as much as I'm willing to thrive within my soul. Like, I just need to get deep. So I invested in a mentor that was like a 4-day weekend, away from my cell phone, away from people, and literally just going into my beliefs, why I am the way, why I think the way I think, getting curious about how I move, why I do the things that I do. And in that journey, I found out that one of the core beliefs that I have in my heart are, do not take up space because we're girls, and not in a way of we're less than, but in my culture, I grew up with parents who came from a different country. In my culture, we learned that as a woman, our role is to respect your husband, cook in the kitchen, have children, and be the support that you can be, which is great. I do believe in supporting your husband, and I believe in that. But I believe that there's more as a woman. I believe that you can do more if you desire. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, be the best one you can be, and that's your more, right? But everyone has a little more inside them. We get to follow it. So, which is why I'm like, well, I went to college already. That was a little bit more. Oh, well, I ended up buying a house. I ended up buying, like, I think I was 22 years old with like a brand new BMW, like off the lot. Like, that was more. And I kept thinking in my heart, well, I'm being really selfish because I can't settle down. I can't do the things that I'm supposed to do. I'm being so selfish. In that retreat that I went to, I realized, no, every single belief we have in our mind is engraved. Every single belief in our mind is either passed down from a generation or a person that influenced our life. Every single one. Like, we grow up and we see a marker and the marker is green. Like, I can show you this green marker, it's green. But how do I know it's green? Somebody else taught me that it was green, right? Like, when we grow up, we're blank canvases. And I think if you really hone in on that, that means that every single belief, every single insecurity has been passed down to us by somebody. And I've really realized that the insecurities are based on their own limitations, not mine. Based on how far they're willing to bet on themselves, not mine. And I know that they say them to try and protect me. And I know growing up, I've brought them into my life. But every single day, I have to do the work to rewrite those narratives and say, okay, this is scary, but it's possible. Am I afraid because I think I can do it? Or am I afraid because somebody in my past would be afraid to do this thing? So every single day, it took structure of realizing, okay, little at a time. I'm not going to feel 100% confident to go in the room and ask for the things, but how do I rewrite the narratives? How do I ask for things little by little? How do I show up and take space little by little? And that's how we've gotten here now, Caroline. Like, it blows my mind that just a few years, because we started this in 2020. So just a few years, it's become what it's become, but I've done it with fear. I've done it with the imposter syndrome sitting down next to me and saying, all right, like, let's do this together. Hold my hand because we're moving together. Like, I do it afraid, but I still do it anyway.
I think there's a lot of important takeaways in everything you just said, but it all starts with taking action. I talk to so many women all the time that they want their actions to be perfect right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And it's not ever going to be. And so I'm always encouraging them, like, be okay with the mess. Like, when you go to the gym, like, you're not going to get a 6-pack automatically. Like, you got to fix up your diet. You got to start doing consistently work, on your core area, like all the things. And that's just a simple example. But You have to start.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, like with that, you have to start. And I used to think like starting was a feeling, like I'm gonna feel ready. And I've realized through this journey, it's not a feeling, it's a decision. You're never gonna feel ready. And if you wait to feel ready, you're gonna wait forever. And you're gonna wait forever and then a little bit more, because starting isn't a feeling, it's a decision. Deciding with a known certainty, with messy action, I'm gonna decide to start and go. And it at every step we do, it's again a feeling of like, oh, I don't feel like I'm ready for this. It's deciding I'm ready for this and do it. Like that's all I've realized. And really plugging yourself into with communities. I can't stress that enough. Like plug into yourself with your community, because I can't remember where I heard this, but they were saying how, you know, the saying, like you become the people you hang around with. They were saying that on a gut level, literally like our guts, our bodies imitate the circle that we hang out with. And then I think, wow, this is why it's so important to plug into yourself to rooms and communities that are doing scarier things than you. Because I think when we started, Caroline, the coach that I had at the time, it was 2020, like the pandemic was happening. And I was worried about making like $1,000, like my very first $1,000, things like that. People in that mastermind were losing brick and mortars. They were losing millions of dollars. They were losing, it was bad because the world was shutting down. And all I kept thinking was, I'm freaking out about $1,000. They're freaking out about $1,000,000. Like the fear is still here, but if they got there, so can I. So how do I just show up a little bit more today? How do I take a little more action? And it's surrounding yourself with people. I think ultimately, like that's the cheat code to life.
Let's take a quick break.
Did you know that I'm hosting a free webinar on September 10th on how to start, grow, and scale your business and personal brand on LinkedIn? If you are curious about growing your business or your personal brand on LinkedIn, this is for you. LinkedIn is no longer a place for job seekers and companies hiring. It's a full-blown professional networking site. If you have a service-based business, your clients are most definitely hanging out on LinkedIn. Or if you have a product-based business, your customers are also on LinkedIn. So come join me Tuesday, September 10th at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. This will be a free 30-minute webinar on Zoom, and I can't wait to see you there. Have questions? Send me a DM. Link to register on my website and click the webinar tab. I agree with you. And I think too, sometimes people think you have to take massive action, like start a podcast or start a business. But even if it's literally the small things, like record a 4-minute episode or do a Canva template for your content today, it doesn't have to be this massive action. It can be small. But those small actions really compound and create a snowball effect for you and your business.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
So what have been the best 3 decisions that you've made as a female entrepreneur?
Number one, hiring a coach, a mentor. Number one, I think there's people who have already done what you want to do. Whether it's being a mom, whether it's starting a business, whether it's being a chef, whether it's getting healthy in your body, someone's already doing what you're doing. Why suffer and try to figure it out alone? And one of my big things in my community, for anybody who is gonna who's gonna stay connected to me, is I always preach this like a broken record. We're unsubscribing from unnecessary suffering. I say this all the time because I don't know who taught us that we have to figure it out alone. No one's handing out a medal for doing it alone. No one's handing out a medal because your journey was the roughest one and it took you so long. Here's your medal. No one is doing that. So why would we want to suffer? I actually heard somebody recently who was like, I want to join a mastermind, Crystal, but I'm not going to do it until I do the business by myself because I have to prove to me that I can do this alone because I don't want the coach to take credit for what I'm building. And I heard this and I was like, wait a minute. You intentionally want to suffer. You intentionally want to sit there. And I say this because when I built the podcast on my end, I think my first episode, Caroline, it literally took me like 24 hours to put up. I didn't know where to host it. I didn't know Canva existed. I didn't know. I was just Googling, YouTubing, and it took me hours. Where now, when I coach people on how to start a podcast, they get their podcast up and running with episodes like in 2 days, like a full series. And I'm like, wow. just because I suffer doesn't mean you have to. Meaning somebody else already suffered. Somebody else already figured it out. We're unsubscribing from unnecessary suffering. And I shout that through the roof all the time. No one is handing out a medal for suffering. So how do you just hire a mentor? Make the investment. Ask people to help you. You're going to get there faster and you're going to save yourself from a lot of suffering. So hiring the mentor hands down has been my number one. My number two has been really honing in on what does success look like for me in every season of my life? And this is every single month I ask myself this question. And I think I learned this from somebody else, but it's, if you don't ask yourself, it's so easy to fall into the to comparing yourself or the cycle of comparison. Well, she has 50 likes or she's launching 10 episodes this season. Maybe I should do too. At every single season of your life, what does success look like for me in this season right now? Because I'm a new mom. My success is different than when I didn't have a baby. I was doing episodes and episodes and masterclass after masterclass because that's what lit me up. Right now, what lights me up is working 11 hours a week, making money and spending time on my belly, laying down with a little baby who's trying to bite me every second. Like that's what makes me happy right now. Like, what does the success look like? So I think those are that's number two, like being able to connect to you often. Because you can have all the strategy in the world, you can have the best coaches, you can have the best network, but if you're not connected with you, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because you're going to be building something that isn't going to light you up. So that's number two, like staying connected to you, asking yourself the questions to come back to your body, come back to what success means to you. And number three, it has been hands down building a network. Building a network of women where other people want to help you share your story. Other women want to put you on their stage. Other women want to give you opportunity. Because they say this, I'm going to butcher it, but they say like your net worth is like your network or something along those lines. And for the first year of my life, I tried to do it alone. I was like, I can't trust people. I just want to do it alone. I don't want to figure it out. How long did it take me? Yes, I made money, but how long did it take me? I could have been there faster if I would have collaborated, if I would have talked to people. So I think in that first journey, the whole vision of our company changed. And it was like, how do we curate rooms for more opportunity for collaboration and co-creation? So I think anybody listening, hands down, hire the mentor, make sure you're doing the internal work because the strategy can only take you so far, and get in the room, build your network. As soon as you can, start building your network.
So what's lighting you up with some of the clients you're working with right now?
I think the way they're creating their own versions of community. So a lot of my clients are hosting events in this season. A lot of my clients are hosting retreats right now. And somebody asked me, Crystal, but isn't it weird? Like your clients now are buying from your clients. So like you're essentially losing money. Somebody recently said that to me and I was like, am I in a season of passing my clients to other people because I'm in a season of being with my baby right now? Like I'm not losing anything. I'm seeing my clients win. But what's lighting me up the most is the way they are creating their own versions of their community. They're creating their own movements. And I'm seeing the results that is having sold out retreats. They're having sold out events. And they're creating opportunities within each other to speak at each other's stages and events. So I think when I think of the ripple effect that She's Made for More is having, that's what lighted me up, is how do we help more women do this? How do we help more women make money, make impact, but doing it in a way that's going to light them up too?
I love that. And I love the work that you're doing. And it goes back to there's enough to go around for everybody. And if you can help and serve your clients, and it's just a snowball effect for everybody.
Yeah.
So tell us more. I want to hear about She's Made for More coming up in October. Tell us all the things.
Yeah, so She's Made for More Live is our next event. It happens October 19th. It's a one-day event. Again, with the evolution of my business, I realized quickly that we get there faster together. So I was going to these events and I was going to these conferences and I was getting inspired and I was leaving, but I realized something. It was a common pattern that was happening. I was going to events and I would link up with friends and then we would set goals and then we would come back next year and only a few of us had hit those goals. And then there was some other ones who were like, I never started. And I would ask myself, why? Why aren't they starting? Why aren't they doing? And then it was the realization of we only know what we know. Like if we don't have the finances to invest in the mentor, we're not going to do. If we don't have the finances to invest in the mastermind, we're not going to grow our network. So I was realizing, yes, that we were going to these events and being inspired, but not all of us were taking action. So that dawned on me and it stayed with me. Then I joined my mastermind and I realized, dang, we get here so much faster together. Okay. So I was getting these little clues from all the containers that I was joining and putting them like in a little box in my heart. Fast forward, I realized, wait a minute, I want to put together an event where it is the combination of masterminds, private mentorship, and events. Like taking the best things of those things, putting them together. I want to create a room like that. That's going to be very intentional, helping women scale their business faster. That's going to be very intentional about building women's network. That's going to be very intentional about having fun together. So She's Made for More Live was born, and She's Made for More Live is that. It's an event that brings you masterminds, events, and private coaches together, because the people that are speaking, they're people that I trust and I love and are doing pretty epic things. But I'm also bringing you the current coaches that I work with, the ones that have helped me scale to 6 figures and beyond. I'm bringing them in. And the way the event runs down is we have hot seat coaching, we have collaboration sessions, we have curated lunches together, we have Q&As available. It's a way to literally come in and get the tangible tools that you're going to need to grow and scale your business. But more than that, giving you the network that's going to help you get there. Women that are going to put you on their stage, women that are going to put you on their podcast, that are going to help you scale. Because again, I'm in a very big mission right now where it's like, make more women, make more income, and make more impact. That's my whole mission right now, because you can have both. And I see it in my clients. I see it with what I'm doing. It's a room full of women who say, I'm made for more unapologetically. I know you're made for more. So let's link up and do something great together. So that's what we're doing.
And go get your tickets right now. It's in the show notes. And I'm going to plug your Instagram in there too, so they can find you both ways to follow you. So as we wrap up, how can our listeners find you?
For the majority, I'm on Instagram. You can see my life there. You can see our random dances, all the things. I'm mainly on Instagram. And then I also have a podcast called She's Made for More Everything. You can go to shesmadeformore.com. Everything we're doing is always on our website. And we also have an Instagram page called shesmadeformore.com.
Thanks, Crystal.
Of course.
It's that time of year again. Summertime is in full swing. I don't know if you're like me, but your girl hates drinking a warm beverage. That's why I created Chilled Vino. Chilled Vino is my patented drinkware product, designed with innovative cooling technology to keep your wine or cocktail cold. With a long stem and elegant feel, you can enjoy your wine or cocktails outdoors. Chilled Vino is shatterproof and resembles a wine glass made of BPA-free plastic. You place in the freezer 4 hours prior to using and remove, and voila, it'll keep your wine cold for hours. You can find at www.chilledvino.com or on Amazon.